Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to Gills in the Blood TV. It's Monday review time as I sit down to have a look back at the weekend's game, which unfortunately for us Gills fans was a narrow 1-0 defeat at the Cherry Red Record Stadium against AFC Wimbledon, despite bossing the game for large parts. Really frustrating afternoon. Plenty of anger at the full-time whistle from Gills fans, Gills players, Gills coaching staff, and I'll get on to one individual later on in this video. I'm sure you can work out who I'm going to talk about. But in terms of us and our performance, didn't think it was a bad display at all. Like I've said, and Steve Evans has said, and we said on the Match Day Live, it was a game that we bossed, a game that we controlled. Wimbledon had 2 meaningful attacks in the whole game. They scored from one of them. But unfortunately, our lack of a clinical front man once again come back to bite us on the backside. Brandon Hanlon, who anyone who watches this channel will know I'm a massive fan of. I think he has all the tools to be a very, very good Football League striker. But at times he still just does need to relax in front of goal. And I think Steve Evans has said in Monday's Medway Messenger that sometimes he just needs to pass the ball into the net rather than trying to smash the sponsor's logo off it, so to speak. And we said in the ground on Saturday when he missed, I think it was his second good chance, when he blazed one over the bar having gone through on goal. Why is he not just, trying to drill it far corner like he did last week in the Cup replay at home to Sunderland? That was a really good finish. But it's easy to sit here and say with hindsight, and when you're watching, when you're in the heat of battle, it's obviously split seconds you have to make decisions. And the main thing is that Brandon's still playing really well, still getting in the right positions, and I'm sure the goals will continue to flow. But yeah, he could have had a hat-trick on another day. I think he went through first half, in fairness to him, he did absolutely nothing wrong, got the ball out of his feet and had a strike at goal. And in fairness, our former defender, Luke O'Neill, got across and covered, and it was a brilliant block tackle that went out for a corner. He had another one that he snatched at early on and the keeper sort of fell on it. And there was one second half where I spoke to Reese of the Gills Fancast on the Match Day Live, and we said he should have scored at the time, but looking at the highlights, I think we done him a bit of a disservice because there was a defender covering and he did have to shoot quicker than we thought. We said we thought he could have had a touch and driven into the box, but he went for a curler and it missed the far top corner by inches. And if that goes inside the post, it gets to 1-0. We probably go on and win the game, and we're all talking about a world-class goal that Brandon Hanlon scored. Such are the fine lines. But he had another one left-footed that the keeper nearly chucked in his own net, but managed to gather at the second attempt. And the one that we've already mentioned was probably his best chance of the game. Threw on his favoured right foot and set himself and went for power rather than placement, and the ball ended up in the stand behind the goal. But yeah, all in all, a decent performance from Brandon. And all in all, a really good performance from the boys. Controlled 90% of it, like I say. Wimbledon looked like they were there for the taking for most of the game, but we kept saying if we get one, we'll probably get 2 or 3, but we ended up not getting the one. And the longer it went on, obviously we had to be more open and take more risks. And unfortunately, we couldn't find that elusive equaliser. And I could sit here until I'm blue in the face and say that I'm convinced if we got the leveller, we'd have gone on and win it, but we didn't, and we didn't. And unfortunately, I'm sat here talking about a 1-0 defeat, but there was obviously one person who wanted to be centre of attention, it seemed. And yeah, let's do an in focus on not a player, but the man who was in charge of the football match this week, and that is this man. Referee Kevin Johnson. Luke Cordell incidentally gave him 4 out of 10 in his report for the Medway Messenger. Far too many for me. I tweeted at full time and said simply one of the worst, no, the worst, let's not make any bones about it, not one of, simply the worst officiating display I've ever had the misfortune of seeing live. It was absolutely horrendous from start to finish, and I'm sure if Wimbledon fans are watching this, they'll say it's sour grapes and we're just having a wine, and we'll get all the usual sort of replies on YouTube and that dry your eyes and that type of thing. But the fact that the Wimbledon fans were singing the referees a womble at the end of the game sums it up. We were battling against 12 for pretty much the whole game, and yes, we've missed chances to probably win 1 or 2 games, but this game simply cannot pass without him being talked about. He was inept to the highest degree. For me, from where we stood in the ground, there's 3 stonewall penalties that he waves away all of them. The first one in the first half, Brandon Hanlon racing through on goal, runs into the D and then into the box, middle of the area. Centre half cleans him out. The only way he can get the ball is going through the back of Brandon, which he does. The ball then sort of loops off of someone and then hits the keeper and bobbles out for a corner. Doesn't get given as a penalty, but it's had to be a penalty. It simply has to be a penalty. He's gone through the back of Brandon before he's about to pull the trigger. So that's one. The second one, again, Brandon gets in behind. Their left-sided centre-back, Delaney, I think his name was, is chasing him into the box. Clips the back of his ankles. Brandon, probably too honest for his own good, tries to stay on his feet. He's off balance, trying to stay up. Delaney then has a pull of his shirt. Hanlon goes over slightly delayed, but it's a penalty. There's 2 points of contact in the box, 2 fouls. Delaney's not touched the ball. He's touched Brandon Hanlon twice in the box. That's another penalty. The third time, again, it's Hanlon. Second half, gets the ball in the inside left channel, drives in between the fullback and the centre half. Whether it's inside or outside, I'm not sure, but it's definitely a foul. Referee, again, just waves it away, turns around and runs the other way. Just scared to make big decisions, it seemed, at crucial times. And my point here would be, if as a referee, you've seen one player go over 3 times trying to earn a penalty or a free kick in a dangerous area for his side, and you don't think any of them are fouls, why have you not stopped the game, pulled out a yellow card and cautioned Brandon Hanlon for diving, for simulation? Because you're telling me that on all of these occasions, there's no foul committed, but Brandon Hanlon hasn't dived. It just doesn't add up for me. But then there was one more, the fourth one, Ollie Lee. Ball's played into the box. I think it bounces off the keeper on the line or he punches it up in the air. The ball drops to Ollie about 8 yards out. He's just about to pull the trigger. And I see it in the ground. I've seen it on the highlights. The midfielder or defender, whoever is the Wimbledon player, it doesn't matter. 2 hands round the back of Ollie Lee, pulls him over. The most stonewall of penalties you're ever likely to see. What does Mr. Johnson do? Runs the other way again and waves play on. But it wasn't just the penalties. I mean, there's 4. At least 2 definitely should have been given, but probably 3. And then he has the audacity at the end. We're piling people into the box. A cross comes in. There's shouts of handball. There's shouts of a foul on our player again. I'm not sure whether there was a foul. But their player clearly boots it out of play for a corner. And he has the audacity to give a goal kick. And we can sit here as fans and talk about Ben Pringle being unprofessional and getting in the referee's face and stupidly getting himself sent off. But if you're continually being tucked up by the bloke who's meant to be in charge of the game, in the heat of the battle, where there's testosterone, emotion running high, you're going to flip your lid at some point. I mean, we had to stop recording some points of the Matchday Live because it was simply language in there that we couldn't put out because of the fact that children watch it. Stocky got so angry that he cut his hand open, punching the back of the stand. Such was the level of ineptitude from the bloke who's meant to be in charge of the football match. Reese from the Gills Fancast, who's very level-headed and plenty of times will talk of supposed offences and saying, well, if our side was doing it and we was defending a lead, then you'd almost let it go. He was absolutely fuming as well. So that says a lot. Simply, like I've said, the worst officiating display I've ever seen. But it wasn't just that. The sheer nerve of the bloke to send Ben Pringle off for apparently saying it's an effing corner 3 times. I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, but grow a set. Get yourself some backbone. Get yourself some thicker skin. Because if referees up and down the country at any level, and I've been involved in Sunday League football for the best part of 30 years, if that was a red card offence every single game for that being shouted at an official, games would be abandoned because there'd be red cards every 10 minutes. The bloke was a wet wipe. Clearly a homer, gave all the decisions to Wimbledon. Simply frightening that the EFL are letting this to happen, in my opinion. And people, like I say, can sit here and say it's sour grapes, but he was simply beyond awful, like far, far worse than awful, that words cannot even describe. On top of that, Conor Ogilvie gets booked in the first minute or so of the game for an innocuous tackle. It's the first challenge of the football match, yellow card. All right, fair enough, you set the tone, but if you've got to be consistent then, Mr. Johnson. Joe Pigott spent all afternoon swinging his arms at players and his elbows. 4 or 5 fouls before he finally gets cautioned. After that, he's still swinging his elbows. Does the referee do anything? Of course he doesn't. 3 or 4 more fouls after the yellow card. Joe Pigott stays on the pitch. What's that all about? Scott Wagstaff, our former winger, twice goes through the back of Conor Ogilvie really late. No caution. Just consistency, ineptitude, lack of bottle, scared to make big decisions, and then had the nerve, like I say, at the end to send our player off for absolutely nothing is frankly frightening. And the trouble is, I could sit here and talk about it till the cows come home, but the EFL won't change it. The standard of refereeing in our division is absolutely shocking at the best of times, but they sunk to new lows this week, unfortunately. And I think it was Lee Clifton, a Gills fan on Twitter, said that if a player plays badly continuously for game after game, he gets dropped, has to go and play in the reserves or in the under-23s. If a manager continually puts out a side that can't get results, he loses his job. The trouble is with the EFL, this bloke will still be refereeing in the Football League next week and ruining someone else's weekend, ruining somebody else's Saturday afternoon. And this could be a big game. What if this was to get in the playoffs or to get promoted or to stay up? These decisions affect football matches and affect bigger pictures in terms of promotion and relegation. That bloke goes home Saturday night, has his dinner, doesn't care, does he? He's got no affiliation to Gillingham or Wimbledon. He'll go about his business next week and, like I say, he'll ruin someone else's weekend or Tuesday night or Sunday or whatever. It's frankly, it's a disgrace. But we'll have to just keep putting up with it, unfortunately, because the EFL bury their head in the sand about proper issues and do nothing about them. So it's something we're just going to have to get on with. Anyway, rant over. I've not had one for ages. Yeah, just really frustrating. And back to us and our performance. I think Steve Evans said we'd be top three if we had a clinical striker, maybe a Tom Eaves type. And we said in the ground on the match day live, if Tom Eaves was playing in that game, we'd probably win it 3-1. But we haven't. And that's no slight on our front men that we've got, because they're all working hard and they're all good players in their own right. But I can't see any of them getting to 20 goals like Tom Eaves has done for the last 2 seasons. Can't see them getting 16, 17 like Cody McDonald consistently did. I'm not sure I'd say we'd be third in the league or top 3, but if you look at Wimbledon, we should win that. The 2 games that we dropped points in when we were 2-0 up would give us 28. That's 3, 4, 7 more points. We could be sitting top 8, top 9, challenging for the playoffs, but we're not for a reason, and the table doesn't lie, unfortunately. But it is what it is. But yeah, I just think that something needs to be done regarding these referees. But I won't hold my breath. Anyway, Saturday, 7th of December, before I go, is going to be a awareness day, and there will be a bucket collection, Gillingham v Sunderland, in respect of prostate cancer. I'm going to put a little thumbnail up at the end of this video. If you could please take the time. I have been asked to do this. If you could have a look at the key stats, bring some loose change to that game on the 7th of December. I'll probably leave the thumbnail in for every video between now and that Sunderland game on the 7th. 1 in 8 men get prostate cancer in their lifetime. It is obviously a disease that affects us all. I don't think there's anyone I know that doesn't know anyone who's suffered with this horrible illness. So yeah, like I say, if you can just have a quick look at that, and yeah, dig deep for the 7th, and hopefully we can raise a lot of money. Anyway, that's enough from me this evening. Apologies that it couldn't be more positive in terms of the result. I think in terms of the performance, it was still decent enough, aside from the glaring thing, which was missing chance after chance. But certainly, and you could tell by the way that we clapped the players off at the end, it weren't through no lack of effort or desire or getting the ball into right areas. And yeah, I will say it, we were tucked up by the man in the middle, unfortunately. Anyway, that's enough from me this evening. I should be back Thursday, hopefully with Boz, to talk about the week that was, which will probably be quiet, but obviously the main attention will turn to Sunday, not Saturday, when we return to FA Cup action. And we'll be looking ahead to our second round tie with Doncaster Rovers. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You know where we are on all 4 social media platforms. And until next time, up the Gills.